Things are finally starting to get a little intense in the game as this first U-turn starts to pit these teams against each other. Things did start to get a little bit stale drama-wise once Angela left, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but now this new rivalry between Jag and Izzy is like my new favorite thing on the show. Now there's actually gonna be a lot to get into for episode 5, but before we dive into all of that, of course I'm gonna ask if y'all would please hit that subscribe button below if you have not already. And also it would mean the world to me if you gave this video a like and hyped it for the algorithm too. So now that all that housekeeping is out the way, let's get started. So this leg of the race is gonna open up with the teams heading to Croatia, which honestly, the only thing I really knew about Croatia is that one guy from Shark Tank is from there, the nice one, not the asshole. They're all racing to the next detour, which is going to be a choice between pretty much lugging these dirty ass nets around town and dropping them off somewhere, aka just the usual navigation stuff. Or they could do the other task, which is to skin and fillet this monkfish instead. Now, I am a city girl, but I do have pretty good hand dexterity and I do know my way around a knife, so I feel like I would be able to complete this fish thing pretty well. Really, the worst thing about it to me would just be getting over how ugly the fish are. But even with that being said, I've also always just felt like when given the choice, it's always better to choose the navigation challenges just because it guarantees that you'll be able to get it done more, you know? Because it didn't really look like the fishnet people were having too much trouble navigating and completing their task, but I can't really say the same about the monkfish people. So overall, it looked like the people who were doing the net were able to beast through and get everything done quicker just in general, especially Tucker and Eric, who seemed to get done like way before anybody else. Side note, I did want to go ahead and give Tucker a shout out here too, because he actually went ahead and asked his taxi driver if he could keep their physical paper map, which I just thought was so genius, especially since all of the main highlights of the city were like pretty much highlighted right then and there. I'm not exactly entirely sure just how much that had to do with their success this leg, but it was still some nice subtle gameplay nonetheless. This is just going to lead us to the double U-turn, which is where most of the drama of this episode comes from in general. Tucker and Eric decide to just ignore it since they're in the lead, which I thought was totally the right move for them. Like, no need to get any unnecessary blood on your hands or anything like that. And then after they left, that's when it looks like the entire train wreck alliance all comes together to strategize. And this is where we're going to see Jazz and Jag decide to U-turn Izzy and Paige. First of all, damn it. Because after last episode, I was really hoping that Izzy would get there first and do the same thing to Jag. They've just been like hyping up this rivalry all season, which honestly did seem to be really one-sided at first, I'm not gonna lie. Later on, when Izzy finds out that she's been U-turned, she ends up flipping off their photo as she should. I just love me a good, authentic Izzy crash out. Just tell us how you really feel, sis.
I want to fuck them up. That's what I want.
And y'all know Paige is a real one too, because she's up there holding Izzy down, just supporting her through all of that. I know that's right. Now, apparently, this wasn't covered on the show at all, but there was apparently this plan in the background for everybody else to just sort of target and U-turn all the BB26 people. I'm not completely sure of the reason. My guess is just because they had the most numbers coming into the season. And this is all coming from Jazz on Chat BCC, by the way. Now, those plans apparently ended up changing once Jag and Jazz realized just how much Izzy and Paige really didn't like them. Plus, it's not like any of the BB26 people were like even working that closely together in the first place, so yeah, not really too much of a point of going that route. Now, Joseph and Adam also end up U-turning Rubina and Kristine here, but they said that this was more of a defensive move in order to protect Izzy and Paige, which I guess I kind of get. I just don't know if I would really want to U-turn somebody if I'm all the way in the front of the pack like all these people are. I mean, of course, if you're in the back of the line, yeah, do it for sure. Definitely U-turn somebody behind you just to guarantee that you get yourself ahead. But I'm just saying overall, I feel like Tucker and Eric probably had the right idea here. Now, the other drama in this episode comes from Eric overhearing Kyland and Taylor talking about the guys coming after the girls or something along those lines. Now, on the show, the edit made it seem like Taylor and Kyland were kind of just pulling this out of thin air. But in reality, Jazz and Jag did actually pull Taylor and Kyland aside to let them know about this gentleman's agreement that they had, which is why we heard that phrase get repeated back on the show. And again, all this news is coming from Taylor via Chat BCC. So once I found all of this out, now I started thinking that maybe this whole little storyline was maybe just something fake that they're throwing into the edit just for a little bit of added drama. I mean, this could end up ballooning and just turning into something bigger next episode, but it could also easily just fizzle out here, so we're just gonna have to see. Now, the last thing we're gonna see in this episode is the roadblock, which at first glance just looked like it was just gonna be so much fun, but in reality, as we see, this just ends up being a shit show for most of the teams. Here they have to build and ride these janky ass scooters, which is just way more difficult than it looks at first. Jag's scooter is just falling apart. I mean, he's just leaving pieces everywhere. And poor Natalie has to give herself all these affirmations just to make it work. And then we see Simone and Joseph struggling just to even get the damn thing built in the first place. And then on top of that, there's Chelsie, who can't seem to get down that damn hill fast enough to save her life. One way or another, this challenge is just giving most of the team some sort of trouble, but overall it does really look like the ladies are having most trouble than anybody getting down the hill. And I'm thinking that this could both be a strength thing, but also a thing with them just being lighter weight in general. Because it did look like it was the smaller ladies that were the ones having the most trouble. I do definitely want to give Natalie a shout out here though, because she's the only one that uses this tactic of getting on her knees and then using her arms to propel her forward, which did seem to be really effective. And Chelsie saw her succeed with this too, but then refused to use that strategy herself, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. But in the end, it all comes down to Simone and Kristine, again, them both really struggling just to make it down that hill in that 36 seconds. Things get pretty intense, you know. At one point, Kristine starts to get really emotional, but she is able to pull through, which means sadly we had to say goodbye to Hannah and Simone in this one. I just thought their sisterhood was so cute and so sweet to watch them always supporting each other and making each other feel good. So it's just sad to say farewell here. Tucker and Eric end up coming in first place once again here. And even though they've been in first a few times now, I still feel like they're like low-key the underdogs this season, which is just crazy to think. But really, I'm just hoping that the beef there stays between them and Jag and not between Kyland and Taylor, okay? Speaking of which, big shouts out to Taylor and Kyland for coming in second place in this episode. They've kind of had a roller coaster of a game so far. They started off in the very front, but then they were towards the back of the pack by episode 2, I think. But these past 2 legs especially, they've just been beasting through all of these challenges, so they definitely deserve this place in number 2. And of course, Izzy and Paige end up surviving this leg, so I'm just super excited to see this beef between them and Jag heat up from here. I'm just hoping they actually get to like confront each other in the next episode or something like that. I don't know, we'll just have to see. But other than that, that's pretty much all I had for this episode, y'all. Of course, I gotta know, how are you feeling about this season so far? And now that we know everybody and their partners a lot better, who are your favorite teams? Let me know in the comments below. Taylor and Kyland really impressed me the most this episode, so of course they're still favorites. And even though I do really like Jag, I am definitely Team Izzy for life, so unfortunately I've already chosen my side in this beef. But of course, I'll be back here next week to recap the next episode with you all. But until then, bye.